Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you love life this morning. I do. I'm loving life. Things are going great. Thomas, good morning, all. 404, no error, please. Referring, of course, to our 404th episode here of the Breakup. Thanks again for joining me in the mornings. I love it. Great community. It's all about community. We're going to be talking about community today, so we're on theme. That's good. Quentin, what's up, my man? Good morning. I missed the name here. JD Coldham. Good morning, Breakup Gang. Just a quick reminder that Canada is a shithole. Canada is a shithole country. It is true. It is true. It is true. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sean recommends. Ben. Good morning, team. The Breakup is the perfect time for a cigar, coffee, and sun. While the world burns, I have the biggest smile on my face. You're going to get a better smile today, Ben. You're going to get a better smile today. We got all kinds of good news. We're full of good news today. We're full of enthusiasm. Bon matin, everybody. Every day is a fantastic day to be on the Bitcoin train. I'm glad you said the Bitcoin train. We're experimenting with some music stuff for Nashville, and I'm desperate to get Huey Lewis to re-record Power of Love. And if you go listen to it again, you'll understand that the only lyrics he needs to change are the words Power of Love, which I want to turn to Proof of Work. So I want to get him to re-record Power of Love with Proof of Work as the chorus, but everything else stays the same. It don't take money, it don't take fame, it don't take no credit card to ride this train, right? And it's all about tougher than diamonds and stronger than steel. You know, it's great. It's great. So, and it, you know, we love the Back to the Future aesthetic, don't we? So very Bitcoiny. So hey, you never know. It might be a hit, right? I'm trying to get AI to even record it because I'm not sure what his voice is like these days. But anyway, you literally just need to turn Power of Love into Proof of Work, and you've got a hit Bitcoin song with everything else right on target. So there you go. So that's why Bitcoin Train reminded me of that. So that's something that's being worked on in the background. Aqua Lodge. Good morning. We like the coffee. We like the sun. T-Dog, Yo-Yo. Good morning, Breakup Gang. Matt, good morning, everyone. Yeah, 56 likes already. We're doing great. As I said, I think we are now the biggest show, daily show in Bitcoin, I think. Maybe not every episode, but just because I had a few that have really gone. We had one that went viral last week, by the way. We had like 100,000 views on one of our morning gatherings here on Rumble, so that's a good sign. Sometimes I get picked up by the algorithm and it goes, so that's pretty great. So I think all in all we're good, and the biggest. So we're growing quick. Wait until the book comes out. The book is going to be a good advertiser. And I mean, by this case, I mean the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management. So we talked about it a little bit. Satoshi Wedding Murders still coming out. Don't worry, everyone. I haven't forgot about you. I'm just trying to survive, so it'll get out soon. All right. Good morning, Pleasantry. Huddle T, Washington. Good morning, good morning. B for victory. Bon matin. Good morning, Bitcoiners. We love it. Joseph, what's up, my man? As time would have it, here we are again. We love it. Time to grok Bitcoin. Indeed, we are grokking a lot here. We're doing some grokking. P-Man, do it. We want the song. We want the song. If you can find out how to redub Power of Love into Proof of Work, some AI trickery or I don't know what, but you got to get it. We need it. We need the song. We're going to pump it the whole time next summer if you get it done. So there you go. Come to Florida, where Bitcoin is the key to a more equitable and sustainable future. King Mensa Musa, we're going to be talking about that today, of course. Of course, we're going to be talking about that. Good morning, Count. 1, ha, ha, ha. 2, ha, ha, ha. We love to count. We love it. We love it. We were fans of Count Dracula, or what was his name? I can't remember. I'll give it a shot. Yeah, P-Man, it's no big deal if you don't. As I said, I think we're willing to go. Is Huey Lewis alive? First of all, I think he is. I only say that because a friend of mine, a father of a friend of mine, passed away last week, and he looked like Huey Lewis. I always thought he looked my whole life. I was like, that guy looks like Huey Lewis. So my brains are not great. Fiat time savings is bullshit. It's the worst, Tommy. It is the worst. I thought this year it was over, which is kind of a bummer because I would have gone to the farm and done an actual sunrise episode where the sun would have risen behind me. Well, you know, we can't. It's not going to happen, I don't think. We'll never get to the right timing. Anyway, had they not switched the times, like next year, I'll do it like that. That'll be fun. All right. Let's just acknowledge that we could do a sunrise live, or we can just give you got to trust me, right? I'm verifying for you on the East Coast here in Montreal. P-Man can set me straight. He can back me up on this. Let me tell you something. The sun is up here. We got a sunrise. It worked perfectly, right? And Bitcoin's running perfectly. And my iTunes is finally running today. Not that that matters, right? But I actually have my file of pictures today, not like yesterday, where my shit tech didn't work. Sunrise tech, okay. Bitcoin tech, okay. iPad tech, shit. Imagine sunrise tech, no problem. No problem. Sunrose, no problem. Huh? All the geo, astrophysics, all of it. That all worked, right? iPad Bluetooth sharing, no, too complicated. So it's all running, right? Bitcoin's running. We're doing great. All that's left for us to do is have a coffee and talk about what is new. But before we talk about what's new, we got to talk about what's fake and new. Okay, so what's fake and new this morning? Well, as you know, I was in Amsterdam a few weeks ago, and there was a little statue I walked by, and it was a little girl, and my kids were like, "What's that little girl?" And I said, "Well, let me look at the name." And I said, "Oh, Anne Frank." I said, "Well, you know," I had to explain what happened, right? No big deal. Kids got it. They understood. You know, you have to go and get a lesson. But lucky for me, I might not have to deal with that anymore. Okay. I might not have to tell my kids about Anne Frank anymore and all the trouble, because the Telegraph is reporting this morning that Anne Frank Kindergarten will be renamed to be more diverse. Okay. German nursery said it wanted to name without a political background. But it comes amid growing concern at the rise of anti-Semitism. I got an idea. We got to make a kindergarten, but in an attic, like a hidden kindergarten in an attic. And then we can still call it Anne Frank. And then I won't have to explain to my kids what happened. So this is all good news. Oh, this one's great. So, you know, there was all kinds of protests this weekend in America. And if you remember, there was a time a little while ago where there was protests around the Black Lives Matter thing, and then Trump was the worst, right? But now it seems that not everyone's happy with Biden. Okay, so not everyone's happy with Biden. And actually, some people went and painted the walls outside of the White House, tried to break in, right? That was a big story. Mary Bruce, who's an ABC correspondent, says the following: White House gates this morning after passionate protest over the weekend. I don't remember them describing exactly like that when Trump was president, but maybe, who knows, right? Were they passionate, the protesters back then? Were they passionate? This one's amazing. This is again on the Israel-Hamas thing, right? Okay. So remember we were talking, what was the one the other day? Oh yeah. It was the signs, right? Remember signs were causing people were putting up kidnapping signs, but the signs were causing a lot of discord in New York City, right? So the signs, fucking signs, man. Why don't they learn? Why don't the signs learn? Right? The stupid signs out there disrespecting people. I mean, humans getting disrespected by signs. What were the signs thinking? I mean, what the hell? But it gets worse. Okay. It gets worse. This is a case. This is from Los Angeles, right? So that's what's going on in LA. Sorry, in New York. In New York, the signs are causing people trouble. In LA, they have a little bit of a different problem. It's actually the ground hitting someone's head, they say. So man dies after hitting head during Israel and Palestinian rallies in California, officials say. Oh, yeah. So let's read the subtweet and see what it says. Witnesses said Paul Kessler was in a confrontation with protesters and fell and struck his head. So he's in a confrontation, but then he just fell. That's all that happened. So he's in a confrontation and then he fell. Now, I haven't got word yet if the ground actually, because it's California, they have earthquakes and stuff, the ground moves, right? I haven't had confirmation yet. I can't really figure it out from the article, but I'm guessing the ground actually just jumped up from an earthquake and hit him in the head, and that was it. Okay. So, but I'm not sure. Here, I mean, you'd think they would say that someone hit him and then he fell and hit his head if that's what happened, but that's not what it says, right? It says that actually the ground hit him in the head. So I'm assuming there was just a big earthquake we didn't hear about yesterday in Los Angeles, and the ground actually came up, hit him in the head, and now he's dead. Okay. Johnny Rico says he slipped on a pile of homeless feces. It could be that. You're right. You're right, Johnny. I haven't really tricked out all the possibilities yet. So indeed, it could be a shit slip, right? He could have gone. That could be it. You're right. You're right. He probably was like, "Oh, I'm not. This rally, the vibe is not mine. I'm gonna go. Maybe I'm just gonna go chill out somewhere else." And then he hit the shit. That's probably it, Johnny. You're right. You're right. He probably hit the shit. Yeah, 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 yeah. I should have thought of that. I should have thought of that. So again, man dies after hitting head after a confrontation, but no cause and effect, guys. There's no cause and effect, right? And this one's also good. This is from our friends at the Washington Post. All right, here's what the Washington Post says. Despite improvements, AI image generators are amplifying outdated Western stereotypes, transferring sometimes bizarre cliches to basic objects such as toys or homes. The Washington Post analyzed fake images to reveal how AI is magnifying stereotypes. And guess what it is, guys? Guess what the AI is? Racist, super racist, super racist. So there you go. That's what we got for fake news today. Now, if you thought all of that was a sign of strong mental health, we've got something to talk about, right? So again, I've become more certain than ever that what we thought of as politics for a long time, right? You remember when we were young and it was like when I was in college, I was like, okay, I have some ideas and other people have ideas and we're like the person with the right answer, right? They're going to get it right. And then everyone's going to follow that way, right? So that I used to think like that, 15 years ago or whatever. I used to really think like that. What I've come to realize, what I understand now, is that we're not actually having political debates at all right now in America. Now, I believe people have had political debates in America before. There used to be something like politics that were alive and relevant, and you were on top of the issues and the targets. That used to exist. What we have now is more like people who have incredible mental health troubles. All we're actually seeing at scale is a mental health disease and a virus, really, mental viruses. You got Gad Sad, who calls it the parasitic mind. But indeed, it is the same thing, right? It looks no different than any other type of viral spread. This is a victim ideology. It spreads very easily. And everything that we saw yesterday with the Trump trial in New York showed that we're not dealing with normal people here, right? So the judge dealing with Trump went out of his way to be not judicious. He said, I don't want to hear from you. So here's what some people said. Colin Rugg says, report Donald Trump pulled out a piece of paper from his suit jacket in court, claiming it would clear him of all wrongdoing in the $250 million fraud case. Left-wing judge Arthur N. Goron refused to let him read it. The paper in question reportedly was a disclaimer clause relating to a financial statement that AG Letitia James, I'm not sure if you pronounce it Letitia or Letitia, but you could say Letitia, is using to go after him. I would love to read this, Your Honor, if I could. Trump reportedly asked the judge. Not at this point, not at this point, and Goron replied. I'm shocked, Trump shot back. The disclaimer clause, according to Trump, meant that he wasn't liable for any inaccuracies on the documents. I think that the statements of financial conditions were very good, were actually somewhat conservative, and that they were totally protected. And so was I by the disclaimer clause, Trump argued. So he went in and said all this stuff. In the end, and Goron or whatever his name is said, you got to control your client. And he kicked lawyers out. He censored lawyers. Apparently, it was a complete shit show. So, of course, Trump has a gag order, right? So he walks out of the room and lights the place on fire, as we know Trump would, right? Saying unfair and this and that. He released a statement on Truth Social. Let me read it because you just got to enjoy Trump's way with words. It's a lot of fun, right? So here's what he says. Judge Engoron is a political hack who ruled against me before the trial even started. He is doing the dirty work for the Democrat Party. I was not even given the option of a jury. This rigged case should have never been brought, but since it should have been in the commercial division, but Engoron would not let go of it. He fought us, sanctioned us for no reason, fined us big money, never give us even a one-day delay. This is his big chance, and he was not going to let it go. In the meantime, they lost. They're star witness, and my financial statements are great. There was no fraud, so they are working with the corrupt AG whose campaign was, I will get Trump to develop something, anything. They even go back to 2014, past the statute of limitations, to look at a lowball offer I made for the Buffalo Bills, an NFL football team. Someone else offered much more. So what? Now they come up with something called disgorgement. I never even heard of the term witch hunt, election interference. And this disgorgement thing is important because it looks like they're going to take away his New York holdings. It looks like they're going to take Trump Tower. That's what it says to me. It says to me that he's going to be banned from doing business in New York, and he's going to lose his actual assets in New York. That's what I think it's going to be. I think they're going to put up a sign on his Fifth Avenue Trump Tower, his masterpiece, one of the greatest skyscrapers in New York. And they're going to put a sign up there that says, revoked, taken by the government, right? Imagine, so taken by the government. The president's skyscraper is going to be taken over by the government. Now, again, we are not actually debating points of law or contentious issues that are logical and rational. We're actually just dealing with mental health people. Look at what they say. So they do all of this to him, right? And then meanwhile, he gives this speech yesterday. They call it Unhinged, right? They get Jen Psaki. Remember Jen Psaki on MSNBC? She's there with Preet Bharara, something like that. And so they're talking, and Preet Bharara, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Pardon me, I no disrespect to Preet intended. I don't know how to pronounce the name. He says, it's bonkers. I seldom curse on Twitter. I did a couple of hours ago in response to the article. So this is about the Washington Post. We're talking about a Washington Post article on the Jen Psaki show, with Trump talking about when he came out of the thing, saying, I'm going to go after them. They got me. I'm going to go after them, right? And he says, reporting that Trump and allies are plotting to weaponize the DOJ for political revenge. Now they're treating it like, oh my God, oh, did Trump say that, right? They're making it try and sound like Trump is the unhinged one when everyone knows they're doing the kangaroo court thing to him. So him saying he's doing kangaroo court back to him, this is gaslighting at its worst. Now, I don't believe they really understand. So it's not really gaslighting. Remember, gaslighting is when you purposefully try and tell someone they're crazy, right? So I think they're just wrong, or maybe they believe it, right? But whatever it is, what I see here is not actually opposition to Trump. It's not actually anyone arguing about real things. It's just mental health problems. These are basically retarded people. Right? They're basically retarded now. If you spend too much time in an echo chamber, you get mental damage, brain damage. You actually get brain damage, right? So these are people with brain damage. And what we're seeing here at this scale is not limited to them. It's everywhere. We have never had such a mental health epidemic in the history of planet Earth. And interestingly, so a few nights ago, What If Alt Hist, he's a YouTube video maker. I love his videos. I don't really follow him on Twitter very much, but I do like his YouTube videos. And he did a whole one on what he called the coming Black Death. So he predicts in his latest video, or not his latest, he made another one since, but this is about 2 days old. He predicts that Americans, people in the world, are about to fall off a global cliff because of mental health, and that we could reach levels of death that we haven't seen, like having the world's population type of thing, right? Like he believes it'll be the same as a Black Death situation. And his frame for it is the psychological breakdown, that this time it will be psychology, not viruses, not the plague that goes through. It is going to be the mind virus, the negative mental health wavelength, basically transferring to everyone around the world. Now, what he does to analyze this is talk about mental health systems that we use in our society, where they came from and how off the mark they are, and how it's led to this situation where we have the worst mental health ever recorded in the history of the world, right? It's not even close. And he gets into the money piece too, right? Because what he finds out is that the money part, right? We are the richest society that's ever lived, yet we have the worst mental health. So what's going on there? How did this happen, right? So first of all, he breaks down one of the major mistakes that's been made with the Western world, and that is to see psychology as a individual thing, right? Where it's just you as an individual with psychological problems, and you do a one-on-one with a psychologist or a therapist or a psychiatrist. Now, this system has been going on for 40 or 50 years at scale, and it's producing nothing but worse results. We're not getting anywhere. We're getting much worse. And the way he talks about it, and he uses 2 books, Johann Hari's Lost Connections, Why You're Depressed, and How to Find Hope. And the other one being Jonathan Haidt, The Happiness Hypothesis, Finding Modern Truth in Ancient Wisdom. And the basic principle here is that, we think of addiction, for example, as a mental health consequence, right? And that we're confused because we think of the opposite of addiction as sobriety. It's not sobriety. That's not right, right? The opposite of addiction is actually connection. It's actually community. It's actually being with people. And here's the point. What he says is that mental health and warding against mental health used to be seen as a psychological community issue, that demons or bad vibes or bad ideas enter the group together and infect the group together. That was the point of the church, was to ward off collectively these, sort of bad spirits, bad demons. He even gets into the demons part, and I'll explain how he sees it from a literalist point of view, even with sort of modern science behind it. He says, mostly it looks like we are, 7 or 8 subconscious threads that are our personalities. And this comes from those books, right? So we were a couple of combinations of subconscious personalities, each of them sort of rotating and trying to ascend to the, control aspect, the ego part. But the ego thing is like a tiny little piece on top of it. It's who we think we are, but we're usually very wrong about it. But that this situation where we have all these different personalities, but because we can't actually what we call individuate them using Jungian psychoanalysis, because we're big into the Jungian stuff on this show. If you can't individuate your shadow, if you can't deal with these negative subconscious personalities, they will overcome you and take over your personality. Now, that you could talk about it in terms of Jungian psychology and subconscious and take over your personality. Another simple way to say it is just demons, right? Like you have these subconscious personalities, and if the wrong one ascends and takes over your conscious personality, because you weren't able to manage your shadow, integrate your shadow, deal with it, you're actually going to become demon possessed. So the demon possession thing, you've seen Mike Cernovich talk about it a lot, right? Mike Cernovich is talking about a coming genocide against people who disagree with the orthodoxies of the Washington Post and the other brainwashers. Other people who basically a genocide caused by the people with severe mental illness, where some form of mass formation psychosis will rise up, and it will be totally natural for them to kill Trump and Trump supporters and all these kinds of people who disagree with them, because it's their fault that there's no harmony, right? So this collective mistake that we've made by not seeing psychology as part of group psychology, that our collective subconscious cannot be managed individually. The entire entity, the collective society we live in, has to be managed in order to get a healthier subconscious state at the individual level. So here's his way of putting it. He says, what we've basically done with psychology is imagine a world where we viewed physical illness as individual. If there's a disease outbreak, we tell people to take antibiotics and eat well. At the same time, we completely ignore the open sewage flowing through towns, wet markets, disease transmission, etc. So what he's saying here is we do not notice anymore. We've thought mental health is the same as our physical health, right? You take medicine, you get better. In this case, you go see a single therapist, you get better, right? We've ignored that we've got actual toxic sewage coming through the airwaves, in our banks. You remember when I said when I sell the book Satoshi Wedding Murders, sorry, not Satoshi Wedding Murders, the NPC management guide, right? So for Bitcoin, I'm probably even going to sort of give it away. It's going to be very cheap on Bitcoin channels and stuff like that. But if I sell a hard copy book on Amazon, I'm going to charge like $100, 100 US trash tokens a copy, because you're actually making me walk into a prison filled with mental health issues, the Amazon store, and I've got to take the money out, right? Like, I don't want to go into a prison. Like, I'm not in danger, but I don't want to enter the room. It's disgusting, right? Unless it's worth, I won't go in if it's 5 trash tokens in there. I don't care, right? If there's a couple trash tokens that I can turn into Bitcoin, it's worth it, right? But the idea that the group situation, the group subconscious, has to be managed in order to have individual psychological health. We haven't really even started broaching that in the Western world. We continue to see psychological health as exactly the same as individual health, right? But they're not even close to the same, right? He goes on. So he mentions those two books, and he says, in the Lost Connections book, that's the Johan Hari's book, he says the drivers of depression from this are depressing work conditions, weak community, lack of values or religion, lack of dignity, lack of beauty or nature, unstable lifestyle and future, right? We talk about future all the time in my book, the NPC guide, or the Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management. That's an asymmetric advantage Bitcoiners have because fiat doesn't allow you to picture the future, right? Except with fear and anxiety. It actually retards your ability to see a better future. It blunts it, it stunts it. You can't do it, right? It's just anxiety and 1.5 degrees in the clouds and what is Greta going to think and poor girl lost her childhood and blah, 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 right? You actually can't spend time imagining the future. It's too bleak. That's an asymmetric advantage Bitcoiners have. We have the dimension of the future. It's an extra dimension that we actually have. Because, of course, once you understand Bitcoin, it becomes very easy to imagine a better future. The Bitcoin fixes this meme is perpetuates because we actually all see it. Once you see that you can fix this and Bitcoin fixes the world and fix the money and fix the world and all these things, it's very easy to imagine a better future. Very easy, right? So that's a major thing, right? So seeing these things combined together, he says, and this is where we have this issue, right? Putting these things together, here's a way to understand what we're going through. Right? He says, people might doubt me saying we have the worst mental health in history, given we don't really have the concept of mental health before Freud, so it's difficult to measure. We have a bunch of other proxies. I basically look at what metrics individuals have when they have poor mental health and see that on a societal basis. 1, suicidal. 2, nihilistic. 3, depressed. 4, doesn't believe in truth. 5, doesn't procreate. 6, is stuck in mental rabbit holes. Our society behaves like a suicidally depressed person. There is no other parallel to this forever. And indeed, it is why, and proof will work this out. Yeah. So we do really have this situation, you know, but here's how I see it, right? And again, I've talked about this a long time. The idea of fixing the money and that the money has this direct root key access to your brain in the subconscious level, because money, of course, aligns incentives or orients incentives and motivates people in certain directions. Here's Rudy Havenstein, who is it's not a real name, but he's just one of the best commentators on Twitter about markets and the Federal Reserve, just focuses on the Federal Reserve. He says the following. This is from Sheila Bair, who was so he's bringing a Sheila Bair quote. Sheila Bair, of course, was a George Bush appointed federal something. So the U.S. Federal Reserve kept money free for nearly 14 years in the name of stimulating the economy. This period of zero interest rate policy, or ZIRP, was characterized by tepid growth, increased market concentrations, low productivity, and yawning wealth inequality. The Fed should fundamentally reassess its belief that a single-minded pursuit of 2% inflation is good for the economy. Any level of inflation erodes real wages, while free money has undercut productivity and sustainable growth. And that's what's happening, right? Worse than what's happening, we've lost the ability to have feedback. That's why we don't understand what's going on in the housing market and the car market and any form of consumption. That's why there is no accountability for any of these people. That's why we get Hunter Biden running around and the media can't talk about it, right? They're just incapable, right? So it goes on, right? It goes on. When I say that this, the Jen Psaki thing and Preet Bharara, worried about Trump weaponizing the DOJ without being able to even have the modesty, the humility, the self-reflection to notice that this is actually already happening. He's doing it in revenge because it's happening to him. Now, Jen Psaki is probably not that. Either she's really smart and is part of this mockingbird system. Maybe. I tend to think of her as probably more just trying to follow along and get along and be a +1 and get an invite to the party. But I've been wrong about that before. That's sort of what I thought about Yoel Roth. Looks like I was totally wrong about Yoel Roth. So not important how I diagnose her, but that's what's going on, right? So you can see it even in normal culture, right? So here's mental illness for you, right? We've been talking about Disney for a while. We've been talking about the fall of Star Wars and the worsening culture wars that entered art and creation and stuff like that. So here's what we saw yesterday. So someone took screenshots of thumbnails from YouTube. They came from Nerdrotic. They came from a few of these accounts, right? You know, these guys who just do that all day. They're pissed off. They're fans. They're sick of woke whatever, and they do these videos. Now, there is a theme within the thumbnails, like similar fonts. For a little while, they were putting everyone with like all the girl, like it's rude stuff, right? You know, they were putting girls they didn't like that were woke with like, you know, cum on their face, like vulgar stuff, right? Very vulgar, right? We're not here to comment on the taste of what they do, right? That's not what's happening. These guys came in and said, look, it's all the same, right? That all these creators are creating the same thumbnails, right? It's a cult. It's a cult. If you criticize Disney, it's a cult, right? So here's what it looks like. Disney becomes a partisan dissemination tool. This is WW3 talking about this on Twitter. Disney becomes a partisan dissemination tool as the institutional left desires. Disney's popularity and stock value plummet. Individual online commentators cover the 60% decline in the stock and the viewership and what's going on. The left then creates a collage out of the coverage of their failure and calls it cult behavior. Yet all of this only exists because a strategy of moving Disney into one side of the culture war failed so spectacularly. Of course, if you took all the thumbnails of a camping or a Tesla channel, they would all likely have a pattern of fonts and colors. But nobody thinks that this is cult behavior. It's only portrayed negatively when it's damaging the corporate pixie dust narrative that wackos slobber over and now causes them mass formation cognitive dissonance, right? So that's what we're actually seeing. Even at the level, the scale of it is everybody. Everyone you know, basically, if they're not Bitcoiners, has this kind of mental health issue now. That's why people keep looking for intellectual answers when it comes to Hamas Palestine. Look, Hamas Palestine is actually not that complicated, all right? In order to have an opinion on Hamas Palestine Israel, you have to say which group of genocide you're pro. You have to be pro-genocide to have an opinion. Sorry, you don't just get to weigh in on Hamas Palestine. The trick that the left used forever in order to put a wedge in this culture war was always the same. It was always one side as a moral high ground. You ignore everything. You grab the moral high ground and say you're on it no matter what anyone else says. That's what Jen Psaki's saying. That's what they're all saying all the time. They're on the moral high ground. You're a racist. You're the worst, blah, 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 blah. It's all terrible, right? So the problem is what's happening in Israel right now doesn't actually fit that model at all. There is no high ground. You're either with Israel to get revenge for what happened, right? Okay, that's a point. Or you're with Hamas because of institutional things in history. Okay, I get it, right? If you don't have an opinion, it doesn't matter because that's still a form of genocide support, right? You can't hide from it. So in any opinion you have on what's going on there, you have to support genocide. There's just no way. Now, that can only happen when you have such a diseased culture that it leads you to these extremes. You have a diseased subconscious that has led us this far. That came from poisoned money. The only way you could get to these results, the only way you could tie yourself into this situation that we have is to follow the money, understand all of these incentives and their corruption, and it led us to this result. It's not the history. I don't even want to hear shit about history in Israel anymore. I don't care. I don't give two shits about what happened 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago. It's all stupid. It doesn't matter. We have the problem now, and every fact we need is in front of us. Every single fact we need is in front of us. Yet we can't look at the situation. We can't talk about it without things turning into genocide and this side and that side, right? So that's where the contrast that Bitcoin offers comes into place. We need to change the actual subconscious motivations, the incentive systems that are behind all this. And that's why we won't be able to do it with the money we have. So when What If Altist is predicting death at the scale of the plague, he might be right. Now, there's a way to save it. We can stop it, and it doesn't have to be that bad. This can end with a good news story, and it doesn't have to go that far, right? So first of all, let's just look at the, we got the gaslighting. We've got, lots of people talking about this stuff. But as Bitcoiners, right, we've got to take the time to actually fix our own community first. And the last chapter of my book on NPC Guide to A Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management. I talk about Bitcoiner NPCs. I haven't really talked about them yet, right? As we go around here, but we have them. All right, we have them. And here's how you can see them. Here's how you see them. Right. So we've been following Mike Benz for a while, right? We've been talking about the information laundering system, right? We've been talking about the censorship industrial complex. The mental health problem we have actually comes from them. The number one enemy Bitcoin has is the fiat propagation node network, which are actually the wordsmiths behind the mass media. The mass formation psychosis that's around us is being orchestrated the way a conductor would with a wand, orchestrated by those forces, right? So the censorship industrial complex, to understand it, you just need to follow the money. That's what Mike Benz has taught us, right? If you need to understand why they're censoring this issue, censoring that issue, it's always the same. There's always a financial reason behind it. If you can understand the financial reason, you will understand why censorship. Now, it's very simple. The fiat system, fiat means declare words, let it be done, right? It is a word-based system. Fiat is word-based money. It's government word-based money. And because of that, it has root key access to your subconscious. If you accept that as the only money there could be, they actually have root key access into your subconscious and can dictate your incentives, desires, and things like that, right? And that's why we have, go back to the ZIRP, we have this mental health issue that really comes from Austrian school economics versus Keynesian school. Of course, Austrian school people don't treat economics like a math problem. It's not math. There's numbers. There's no math. The math has nothing to do with it. It's a psychological engine, right? So psychology is a group thing. It's group mental health. The economy is a psychological engine. So it takes the group mental health and perpetuates it forward, right? Austrian school people have understood that everything relies on the psychological engine in the end, because that's what dictates time preference. That's what dictates how much time you'll take to treat another person as a human and not just ignore them because you have some motivation to get dopamine somewhere today and some itch you got to scratch somewhere, right? So after everything we've learned from Mike Benz and all this stuff, let me give you a case in point of a Bitcoiner. Now, I don't want to point him out too much, right? But this is Lawrence Lepard, right? Now, I did call him Lawrence, don't be a retard. Okay, I said that earlier because he is. All right, this is what he did. He came out and said the following this morning on Twitter. I noticed it, right? He tweets, bye Nick Carter. Okay, and he brings a screenshot of Nick Carter communicating with Zach Seward, who is a CoinDesk guy, who I know, he's a great guy. And Zach Seward was making a joke about the time SBF had weird shoelaces or something, and they were tied like an idiot, right? And SBF answered, he goes, I don't know what to say. They came that way. Nick Carter answered that 2 years ago on Twitter, and he says, you're meant to replace them. You're meant to relace them, king, is what he says. You're meant to relace them, king. Okay, so Lawrence Lepard comes in and says, bye, Nick. Now, Lawrence Lepard, right, describes himself as the following. This is how he describes himself, right? He says he is a, let me see what he says. He describes himself as. I have the notes here. Anyway, he says he is a Austrian school person, all right? He's an Austrian school guy. That's what he says he is, right? So he's an Austrian school guy saying Nick Carter, bye-bye. Nick Carter, bye-bye, right? What is he canceling Nick Carter? Okay, Nick Carter last week, right? Last week, Nick Carter got the fake news to retract an article in the Wall Street Journal written by Elizabeth Warren, run through the censorship industrial complex, run through the PSYOP machine that's running the fiat industrial censorship complex. He got Elliptic and all these scammers to admit they were privy and party to scamming. And he did work that was more important to win World War III than anyone I know around this week, last week, any week. All right. The actual enemies of Bitcoin, the actual enemies are the fiat propagation node. And then you get this guy here, right, saying he's an Austrian school economics guy saying, bye-bye, Nick, I'm going to cancel you because 2 years ago, you talked about the stupid shoelaces And Nick Carter made a joke to SBF. Imagine the pathetic loser ideas that you have to have in your brain today to spend time doing shit like this. It's disgusting, right? Now, luckily, in my book, The Bitcoiner's Guide to NPC Management, I have some advice for people like Lawrence Lepard, right? Yeah. He's a boomer with look. Let me just read my chapter to give advice on how to handle these people, right? Because I do have a chapter on it. And he goes, this is what I have to say, right? So you're getting a teaser, a heads up on the book here. Bitcoiner NPCs and how to hear the echoes within ourselves, right? So this is sort of the end of the book, right? This is sort of the end of the book, okay? Embark, enlightened peer, upon a deeper revelation in our quest to the arcane realms of cognition and monetary revolution. This passage delves into a domain often overlooked, a reflection in the waters we thought we had charted. Herein, we unveil the existence of Bitcoiner NPCs, entities not bound by the traditional fiat enchantment, but entrapped within a spell of their own making. These are souls, much like ourselves, who have broken one set of chains only to find themselves entangled in another. They are brethren on the same path, yet diverged by illusions they hold dear. Recognizing ourselves, the first reflection. Every quest begins and ends with the hero's mirror, a reflection of self. We, the bearers of the Bitcoin standard, often presume our awakening complete, our spirits unshackled. Yet within our ranks dwell those who, though they've embraced the sound money we all cherish, remain ensnared by a different, subtler enchantment. The binding of the mind and spirit, fueled by the insatiable hunger for affirmation, a dopamine-driven dance with dogma. High priests of orthodoxy. In the hallowed halls of the Bitcoin temple, there are those who have appointed themselves guardians of purity. Their first contact tales are not of fear, but of fiery zeal, a righteous fury against any who dare deviate from what they perceive as the sacrosanct core of Bitcoin philosophy. They fear not the coin's failure, but its contamination, its dilution by ideas that stray from their rigidly held beliefs. Understand this, dear peer. They are driven by a noble desire, a world free from overreach of centralized power. Yet in their fervor, they risk becoming the very thing they fear, an authority that allows no dissent. The spell of instant gratification. Herein lies the crux of Bitcoiner NPC's enchantment. The paradoxical rejection of low time preference promise intrinsic to Bitcoin and the Austrian economic principles. They seek the sanctuary of sound money, yet their actions are tinged with the very impatience they profess to disdain. Their fixation on the immediate, a tweet, a news cycle, a monetary market response, betrays a discord between their proclaimed philosophy and their practiced reality. The shared path. Recognize them not with scorn, but with the kinship of shared purpose. There's no need for enchantments or incantations here, for their core is already alight with the right flame. They need not persuasion, but reflection, a gentle nudge towards the patience and foresight they've momentarily forsaken. And here's the advice. Stay humble, the ultimate shield. This chapter, dear peer, serves not as a guide to change others, but as a map leading inward. The Bitcoin NPC could be any one of us, a mirror reflecting our zeal, our fears, our unacknowledged contradictions. Acknowledging this possibility within us is our shield against the enchantment, a talisman crafted of self-awareness and humility. In this grand game, none are immune to persuasion. The comfort of echo chambers, our treasure, the sound money of Bitcoin, enhances gameplay, elevates life quality, yet it guarantees neither wisdom nor self-awareness. Those we must cultivate within ourselves through constant vigilance and an open heart. This is all about personal responsibility in the end. It's that simple. Satoshi made this truth plain to see. Journey forth, enlightened Bitcoiner, with the courage to question not just the world, but also yourself. For in the quest for monetary revolution, the fiercest dragons often dwell in the recesses of our minds. May your spirit be resilient, your mind agile, and your heart ever receptive to the whispers of truth, from within and without, because it's you as a peer in this P2P network that it's all about. Final thought. Remember, noble Bitcoiner, this journey is perilous. You're not just confronting individuals, but a system, a spell, centuries in the making. Yet with this NPC management handbook, you are armed. Go forth, break the curses of fiat, and awaken the NPCs to the true magic of Bitcoin. For in this quest, you're the sovereign disruptor of the synthesized reality. May the sats be worth your time, and may your spells always find their mark. Welcome to the party. So, look, Lawrence Lepard's a great guy. I got no problems with him, right? But if you think that shit-talking Nick Carter this week makes you look cool, you're a stupid not leopard. You're not a leopard, okay? You're something else. So don't do it. Don't sit around and say that fucking Bitcoiner is not good enough. I'm a fucking better Bitcoiner. Don't do that. It's not good, right? Look at yourself. The stay humble, stack sats part, right? The stay humble part's really important, guys. It's more important than you realize because it helps us ward off these terrible mental health things. Do not fall down the road of fucking Nick Carter. Oh, bye bye, Nick. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because guess what? When we win World War III, I'm gonna hug Nick Carter. We're gonna win. Like I'm not gonna be like, fuck Nick, why did you fucking subtweet SBF 3 years ago? No. I'm gonna say when World War III is over, Nick, what a ride. What a ride. Glad I was with you. Am I gonna say that to Lawrence Lepard? Who the fuck is this guy? What the fuck are you talking about? Bye bye, Nick. Get the fuck out of here. All right. Stupid, dumb, waste of time. Nick Carter put a fucking dent in the universe. He smashed back, showed everyone how to do it. The fake news. What do we do here every day but try to talk about the fake news, try to help ourselves? That's fine. Nick Carter just went, no, I'm going to punch him in the face. And that's amazing. It's amazing. Okay. So whatever Nick Carter did wrong about this and my star, his star is continuing to rise. Hate to say it. It's rising. Okay. Because what he did was an actual World War III win. Check. We won. All right. We didn't fall for the stupid shit that other industries fall for. We kept our collective health strong. We didn't let fake news penetrate our own iron dome of our own psychological engine for industry. We are not supporting fucking terrorists. Okay. Stop spreading fake news. And if he thinks that sub fucking tweeting with SBF 3 years ago or some shit erases that and it's bye-bye Nick, he's going to get canceled. Lawrence, come move to Canada, man. You know, like it's going to be better for you. I think it's going to be better. Right. So there you go. That's what we got for today. Sorry if I got mad, but that's the way we got to do it. Right. That's the way we got to do it. Downtown music. I have a Bitcoin accepted here at my business. Basically, it is an NPC detector. Some actually get a little hostile and seem threatened by it. Oh, so downtown music, that is actually the point of the book, that you can leverage Bitcoin to protect yourself by identifying NPCs because they'll kill you, right? They will. That's kind of it's a survival guide, right? So there you go. Oh yeah. Did you see these? The speed at which people forgot about Ukraine and found a new purpose in life. Disseminating state-sponsored verbal vomit about Israel-Palestine is even faster than anything I've seen. Yeah, did you see Zelensky begging for loans now? I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. He wants to go charge it to the credit card. Charge the war to the credit card. Thank God for Bitcoin forcing me to go on this journey of self-reflection and genuine thought, whether at times I was starving for it or tried to avoid it at all costs. Yeah, that's what we're on, guys. That's the path here, you know, that's the path. Without Bitcoin's protection, I too would likely be a state-sponsored, unhealthy, obese NPC while they sit around and can't look at what is actually happening and can't look away. Yeah, HBDC, that's what it's all about. And look, it's community. Like, you know, we're here in the mornings together, and this is I think, a viable form of psychological protection. I feel community from this. I hope you do too. I mean, that's why I do it, right? I feel like this connection every morning to help us together ward off the demons of fiat that are being conjured and brought up in the world right now constantly is kind of why we do it, right? So that's what we're after here, right? I'm not trying to tell you I have all the answers either. Like, it's not, I don't want this to feel like school. I'm not here to, you know, I'm here to help us all sort of put everything on the table every day that would be psyops, that would penetrate your shield that you need to protect yourself against all this sewage. There's basically raw sewage going through the airwaves. All right, there's raw sewage going through the airwaves, and the raw sewage is going through the airwaves, and it's foul air. You get it inside of you. It's a foul vibe. So we do this to get together so that the foulness doesn't penetrate. It can't come near us. If we're together, if we're in a community, it can't touch us, right? Which is why Bitcoin meetups are so important, which is why Bitcoin bro lifestyle, all the stuff we do is so important, right? So there you go. There you go. I'm not apologizing, man. I'm more. It's important to be as welcoming as you can, let's say, right? And to like Christians and Bitcoiners are the same in this way. Anyone who wants savings is good with us, right? Anyone who wants it. Doesn't matter. Lawrence Lepard, you know, he doesn't need that much. He just needs to know that whatever dopamine he got from saying bye-bye, Nick, is retarded and not helpful, and you're in the wrong fight. Go fight somewhere else, right? Go XRP. That's XRP army stuff. All right. Go be an XRP army. Honestly, Lawrence. Like if you're going to sit around and worry about what a winner is doing and you're going to call it out, that's like XRP army behavior. All right. It's not Austrian School of Economics. I'll tell you that. All right. Because an Austrian School of Economics person would understand that the war they're against with the fiat propagators, the word propagators, the word smiths that have root key access because they made money words, government words are money. Because of that, right? You got to fight them. You have to. You have to fight the block propagation that they run, which is information laundering. Oh, credible expert said something. Government cites in letter, gets a ton of reaction and new laws. They got Cynthia Lummis in their fucking trap. All right. Cynthia Lummis fell for it. Don't make it sound like it was nothing. Like it was just some academic shat out a fucking article and Elizabeth Warren wrote about it. It was worse than you think. It was worse. They had congressmen signing letters. They're coming. Do you know what they need for a hunting license on us? It was that. That was a hunting license. They were creating a hunting license for us. And Lawrence Lepard is sitting there saying, bye, Nick. Well, he just saved your fucking life. He saved your life. Okay. You were going to get hunted this week if it wasn't for Nick Carter. You were getting hunted. And you're going to sit there and worry about fucking shoelaces. Stupid, dumb. Bitcoiners cannot behave this way. We're not going to make it if we do shit like this. Now, he'll be fine. He'll get over this. This was a temporary mistake, but we got to stop this stuff. The point Bitcoiners have now, I don't want to control it and make Bitcoiners nice and all that. Toxic maximalists have the role. We love it, right? Nothing wrong with stablecoins, guys. Listen, here's the thing that we got to actually get to as well in this industry, right? So as fiat dies, we have already experienced generational financial crime in one way. I do not give two shits and never will that someone sells ETH to some boomer like Lawrence Lepard. All right. I don't care. If there's some financial crimes going the other way, people are selling ordinals. People are selling JPEGs to fucking middle-aged people. I don't care. No one's going to remember this, right? Eventually, we will destroy Wall Street. Eventually, we'll destroy it. I think Ethereum can actually destroy all of Wall Street. I think Ethereum's not a big enough scam. I think we got to grow it. We got to hope it gets bigger. Ultimately, it's true. We do not want a world filled with financial engineers and all these people. But if we use financial engineers now to destroy the world of financial engineering, so what? So what? Who cares? In the future, you will be murdered. You will be murdered for doing this kind of stuff. But we're not even close to there. We're not even, if you go around scamming in a world in 100 years in the future on the Bitcoin standard and you're around scamming, you won't even need a trial. People are like, why is there still a scammer around? Kill him. It'll be obvious. Everyone will have so much low time preference and so much understanding about how humans are supposed to treat other humans that it will be unforgivable and obvious to everyone immediately. So it won't be a problem, right? But we're not even close to there, guys. We got to destroy Wall Street first. If you use the twisted logic of Wall Street on itself, so what? We do it with politics all the time. Like me supporting John Fetterman, and because I'm a Fetterman 2024 guy, right? I'm a Fetterman 2024 guy. It's the same argument, right? My prescription for Wall Street is extra ETH. I want the merge, the splurge, the whole thing, all the marketing they could have at ETH, just pump it into their faces. Just let them have it. That'll cancel it. I'm not here to like control demolition of Wall Street. That ain't gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. This is war. It's not gonna be a controlled demolition, right? So I don't give a shit who's out there scamming Wall Street. I don't care. I don't give a shit. And anyone who wants to scam Wall Street is my friend, kind of. Like, now I get why you want to teach savings, low time preference, don't involve yourself in scams. That's information for Bitcoiners, right? Now, the wider society, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Okay, I will never care. You want to scam them? Be my guest. Be my absolute guest. Scammer's gonna scam. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Should I make more ETH NFTs, Nolan? I swore off them years ago. Yeah, of course, man. What are you talking about? Again, guys, don't worry about the purity test stuff. It doesn't matter. We have, if you don't embrace financial generational crime the other way, you're not playing the game right. Like, the best thing you can do for Bitcoin is get rich, stack Bitcoin, stay humble, stack Bitcoin. Don't save in any of the other stuff. That's all video game money. It's all video game money. It's not real money, right? All of it, right? But you can turn it into Bitcoin. So, I loved in the last run, you got these boomer financial, and I'm a financial advisor, and I'm staking money here and yielding. These fucking people. Go get them. Go get it. Go. It's yours. Just take it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No one will even. It's a footnote in a footnote in the end of what we're doing. Right now, I don't participate in it. I don't. But I was lucky enough to be around before this was trouble. I worked for ETH in 2014 or some stupid shit. Right. I made a ton. Like, sold it all at $10 and still made a ton. Right. But it was a different time. So how can I, before any of this stuff was here, all these people being moralizers, Max Kaiser, guys, let me tell you, he was fucking shitcoining like anybody. Shitcoining, big time. Everyone did it. Now, we're all off it. I haven't touched any of this shit in years, right? Years. 2016, really, 17. Didn't bother anymore. But I'm not going to criticize people who do that. Like, that's how I stacked a lot of Bitcoin. What am I supposed to say, right? Like, how can I, you're not as pure as me. Your shirt's not, like, come on. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. Now, I don't want to put scammers on a stage. I don't want to put scammers here. I don't want to give them a thing. But if someone goes and does it, I mean, what do I care? Like, I'm not going to, it doesn't matter. This doesn't matter, right? There you go. And stablecoins, you got to understand stablecoins. So I've actually had this conversation with Nick Carter, right? We were talking about stablecoins years ago. And my impression at the time, and he agreed with it, was simple. I said, stablecoins are printers, printers that I love, printers, right? I saw a funny joke the other day. Everyone talking about 3D printers. Can't they just figure out 2D printers first? Yeah, they just figure out printers, right? Printers, of course, do not work. Printers don't work. But the way I described stable coins in 2018, I gave a speech on this and sort of tested it before I spoke about it publicly. But I believed already then, when stable coins were first coming out, that they were like the printer was to computers in the 1980s. So stable coins are to Bitcoin what the printer was to the computer in the 80s. In the 80s, before social media and the internet, there was very little you could do to bring the digital world into the physical, but you had to tie them together because you couldn't just live purely digital. No social media, none of that stuff, right? So the number one software was like word processing. It was a word processing machine. Computers were word processors more or less back then. And the way to get your word processing out into the world was a printer. Invites to parties, cards, remember all the stupid shit, like the community bulletin boards where you put numbers and call me if you're along to get mowed and all that stuff. That was the original use case for computers. It was to hook them up to a printer to get the things you produced and put them on there. Handing in papers when I was a kid at school, right? We used printers. So, but where are we after we developed a more robust internet. The truth is why we don't have a good printer is because of this. They're not important anymore. Had we stayed on the 1980s economy and 90s economy, the printers would have been much better. I bet you to this day, there are printers in the 90s that actually work, not like the printers today. But because it's such a useless technology now, because you don't need to print anything, right? You can just leave everything online. You can share between devices. You have a million devices. I've got an iPad that's as big as a sheet of paper. Therefore, I have an infinity paper. I don't need an actual printer, right? I like printers because I like to use a pen and make notes and scratch things, but I have an Apple Pen too. I can do that. Like I can write notes on my thing anytime I want. So the point is, it's a temporary technology. Stablecoins are a temporary technology. Bitcoin needs stablecoins in order to churn out dollars, right? They're a huge strategic advantage for us. But they're not going to live forever. They're just good for now. They're the same way a printer just isn't useful anymore. Stablecoins won't be useful, but I let them into the world, into the world of Bitcoin for that reason. Like they're just a part of the evolution. So they don't bother me. I don't find them scammy, put it that way. The only other company that the only other businesses I would work for now are stablecoin businesses. If I was to take on a client, I would have no problem taking on a stablecoin client. None, right? I can see directly how to use stablecoins to make Bitcoin better, and win the war faster. So I would embrace that shortcut, right? Yeah, don't put your trust in people. Yeah. Indeed. Now, remember the good. He deleted it. Good, David. I don't want to be. I like the guy. I don't mean anything. Like I don't want to be a jerk to him. It's just dumb. It's so stupid. Like Nick, we're gonna sit around and dunk on Nick Carter still. I get it. The star, like he fucked up. So what? Forgive people. Whatever, right? Like I don't have any problem with it. So there you go. All right, team. That's all I got for today. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Less than 8% is actually printed. Yeah, I thought it was even less. The beauty of Bitcoin is you genuinely don't have to give a shit what others do as long as it is a genuine threat to your livelihood. I never really saw shitcoins as anything even close. Yeah, precisely. Like they're not, the way I always describe them is they're not like, I like shitcoins in the same way that I like baseball cards. They're just like a stupid little subcategory of a subcategory. Shitcoins are a subcategory of like corporate stocks and equity or something like that. Very limited subject matter. Bitcoin is the economy. It's psychology. It's a worldview based system. It's scales different scales. We're talking about astrophysics versus astrophysics versus not even mechanical physics. Astrophysics versus the rules of Monopoly, or like the rules of a board game. Right? It's like a board game versus astrophysics. Okay, so because I don't want to even put it at like a terrestrial level only. It's even lower than that, right? No, they speed it up, man. They speed it up. There is no better. So this is what I fundamentally believe, and this is why I prescribe what I just said. There is no better way to teach Bitcoin than shitcoin losses. There's no better way. Do you know how counterfeiters do their work? Counterfeit detectors, people who are paid to detect counterfeit money. What counterfeit people do is they get familiar with the authentic, right? They don't look at the fake ones to understand the real ones. That's too slow of a process. So what happens is you let people go on this slow process of understanding the fake ones, and then they will recognize the familiar, and then they will become acquainted with the familiar, the real, right? They'll become acquainted with the real, with the authentic. So how many people in their Bitcoin story have told you the same? It's not intellectual. You can't be taught this. You can't be taught. You've got to see it yourself, and you've got to evolve to see it. You've got to grow to see it. And the fastest way to grow, there is no faster way, is shitcoinery. It's the fastest way, because whatever anyone says that crypto is fiat on steroids, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. It is worse time preference. It's more credentialist. It's more of these things. My argument about crypto, about its worldview, is the following, right? It basically takes, so my first NPC in the story are called credentialists, people who basically think, more degrees, whatever. I spent enough time with those Ethereum people to know that they are absolutely credentialists. They think if you put all the smart people in a room, they're going to solve the world's problems. What Wall Street needs, according to them, right? The financial engineers suck because they're not smart enough. They want to increase the intelligence of the financial engineers. They want the engineers to be like 140 IQ now. They want them to have a Series 7 Wall Street license plus a computer science understanding, right? Bitcoin is saying the opposite, right? They don't want you to be smarter to participate in the economy. They want the threshold to participate to come lower, because all you can really do is save money. Like, it doesn't take a lot of cognitive effort to do that, right? So that's the difference in the worldview. Crypto is 100% fiat on steroids, 100%. And that's what makes the contrast so great. Once you go down the shitcoin road, it's a circle. It's the same as politics. It's a circle. It's not a straight line. Anyone who gets you to think that politics is left and right is maybe, they're not necessarily fooling you. They've been fooled, right? It is not a straight continuum like this. It's actually all the same thing. It's a circle, right? And the really smart, high IQ Republicans and Democrats who all, let's say, understand Bitcoin, come together at the top. I have plenty of friends who are not like politically motivated or anything like that, but I would suspect they're more on the Democrat side. We get along great, right? But on the other end, you also have the stupid racists on both sides, like the crazy people who want to kill white people and the crazy people who hate everyone else. That is they're the same person, right? So it's a circle. It's a circle, and I think that by learning about fiat and learning about shitcoins, it brings you around to Bitcoin eventually. It does. It's a faster road. You can go the other way. Some people do, right? It's green versus orange. Yeah. Nick Carter credentials a little bit, not necessarily. I mean, he's pretty based. I don't know if you guys knew that. Nick Carter is probably not as overtly as telling you about his politics. I know what they are. I talk to him about this stuff all the time. So, I mean, remember, he was like a mid to early 20s guy when I was hanging out with him in New York. And he was already like pretty MAGA-y, right? Like pretty deep into that stuff. So, I mean, he has all the, but in the same way I have a lot of these credentials. I went to fancy schools and all that stuff. He did all of that. I mean, he comes from that background. His parents are academics. He's an academic. He's an East Coast guy, right? I mean, he's exactly that. He's exactly what you think he is. He is exactly an East Coast, super smart, very good at school, but not a robot either, like a free thinking. Remember, I mean, he was all in on Bitcoin early, right? He is one of the last generation that was able to even get anything out of university in Bitcoin. I don't think you can do what he did today when he did it. So, yeah, I don't think he's definitely, I think like even I would do that if someone went to Harvard, not now, but like before 2015, I'm like, whoa, that's a smart guy. Like, I wonder what that person says, or girl, or whatever, right? These days, I don't think much of it, but there was a time when it was like, whoa, that guy got into Harvard. Wow. Right. Luckily, they destroyed it all. That was persuasive, right? But it's all gone. So that's great. Yeah, it's green versus orange. Yeah. All right, team. Thanks for coming. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for helping all of us protect all of us against foul psychological